Have you ever wanted to literally live inside the pages of the secret history? Well, maybe not, because, who wants to be in a group of friends who gets up to some malevolent stuff inspired by ancient Greek mystery cultic practices? So, I heard you were in the mood for a little bit of a spooky dark academia activity. Well, before I give you my 4 that I've been indulging in the most this autumn, let me give you a little bonus list. 1, going to a corn maze. And I suggest it be a night corn maze, obviously. Bringing Ovid's Metamorphoses and specifically reading the sections on Daedalus's labyrinth that was used to contain the Minotaur. If you're not so much on the literature side of the dark academia trend, you might look into scientific experiments that consider mazes, like mold mazes or different animals' relationships with mazes. Just adds an intellectual dimension to a traditional spooky activity. My next bonus activity is making art of any kind, very on trend, and perhaps using a technique you haven't tried before. So, getting into those early 2000s vibes with a little bit of a garage band song. This is especially fun and seasonal if you enjoy synth music or dark wave or dream pop, any of those more ambient genres where you don't have to have as much expertise with specific instruments or with vocals, and where you can just play around with moody noiseescapes. My next activity is trying a new method of journaling, whether it be working with a typewriter or just setting up a doc on your laptop in a different format than you generally use, a different landscape orientation, a different font, etc. There's also always, of course, going to see a museum, and if it's a local museum, perhaps choosing one painting, bringing your journal, thinking about it, writing about it over the course of the season to see what changes. Another activity is choosing a recipe from a work of classic literature you like. The one that comes to mind, obviously, for me is From Virginia Woolf's To the Lighthouse. The meal she serves a very ornate meal. We get lots of details, but there's lots of other texts where you can research the recipes and give them a shot yourself. It's both cozy and dark academia, and this leads perfectly into my next recommendation, which is throwing a dinner party, but specifically a themed dinner party. So whether it's a murder mystery with your favorite literary icons or characters, or alternatively having a theme and requiring everyone to pontificate on that theme. And if I could recommend one, hauntology, specifically the Derrida concept, that's a fun one. And your friends can bring stories that align with the theoretical notion or stories that are just inspired by that word, hauntology. Those are some preliminary thoughts, and I hope that spurred something in you. Now let's get into the 4 that I have been resonating with the most this season. Stay with me, and if you aren't able to guess it, I'll tell you what activity 1 is in just a moment. But one thing I love about autumn is the way it makes everything around me seem so new. The trees I'm accustomed to seeing take on a character unlike the one habitual to them. I almost want to learn new words to describe all that beauty that I'm suddenly aware of around me, and this is where the dark academia comes in. And just really quickly, I want to interject and say this is actually a signature from Anne Carson. And funny story, I got so nervous going up to her that I didn't tell her my name, and she just signed a random person's name, and I think that's really funny, and I like to imagine that it's like a past lover of hers or something. Number 1 is going to be study an ancient language, very The Secret History themed, and for me, I'm semi-far into my study of the Latin language, so I'm going to pick up where I left off, but also I love Greek, and I want so badly to learn more of it, but I just don't have the time to give to it right now, so I'm actually reading a little bit from Eros the Bittersweet, one of my favorite books, to get that sense of intimacy with the language while not necessarily studying it. Activity number 2 is for Shirley Jackson fans who are mesmerized by the actual dark part of dark academia. I can't exactly go explore Gothic Castle, sadly. I'm not the heroine of a classic Gothic novel, but there are some ways that I can still get that buzz, that feeling of grandeur and exploration and mystery. So number 2 is going to be explore an abandoned building. Do some urban exploring. And if you can choose a building that was once academic in function, an old school, an old library, all the better. This one's really fun because it gives you that sense of trespass and darkness and moodiness that the dark academia genre gives. And hopefully you'll get further than me. I got spooked seeing a light on in a building I thought to be abandoned and didn't get too far in my exploring, but it's a great one. And you can also do some journaling around this, which is always fun. 3 is something we should all be doing every day. It's something all the greatest writers have done. It's something that supports our cognitive health, and it's been scientifically proven, but there are some ways to spice it up. This app that I'm using is actually called iNaturalist, and please don't mind my horrid art skills. I am all about eschewing perfectionism. Number 3 is going to be nature walks, but add a specific academic slant to your nature walk. So this might mean logging on iNaturalist. This might mean listening to the bird calls and recording them and trying to identify them. It might mean engaging in a environmental science-esque experiment. If you have access to a microscope, for example, I might suggest scooping up some leaf litter and studying all the insects you find under a microscope, identifying them, and then performing extrapolation calculations to see how many of each insect is inhabiting a spot you frequent. It gives you a sense of intimacy with the natural world that is unparalleled. And also, one way I'm accomplishing this is through sketching out things I see on my nature walks. It gives me a sense of connection and attention that I just can't get anywhere else. 4 has to do with something that really scares me. It's the transience of our digital lives. The fact that if things aren't archived on internet archives, they're lost. The Wayback Machine has way too much power. And something that astonishes me is the print culture of even just the 20th century. I mean, there's so many artifacts that have gone out of existence, and so any chance I get to sit in an archive and is meaningful for me. Number 4 is actually going to be research, and I specifically recommend research in special collections libraries. And so you can see more of the kind of literary pilgrimage I did this October in my last video, but I'm just going to recommend you get in the archives, you have some presence with any kind of physical object, and it can be the vertical files, the newspapers at your local library, it can be the papers of whatever author lived where you lived at the closest academic library. And it's so unexpected the things you can find when you just do that extra legwork of, signing up for a community book card. These resources are generally free, and it's amazing the kind of feeling of discovery, and not to overuse this word, but intimacy you can get. And I think that's part of what I really love about the dark academia genre, a secret, the feeling of some special connection between you and the knowledge you seek. And so I think there's lots of ways to replicate that, even if you're not, associated with an institution. So those are my 4 that I've been using, and thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next video.